the sort of detail and expense that they go to get the level of authenticity is a real luxury and really not something you get very often. And I was struck by that immediately. He's a fascinating man, Charles, and it's a fascinating life and a fascinating role. You know, it's a huge show, and I'd loved the first 4 seasons, and to be involved with that and that kind of writing is you know, a rare opportunity. And one of the joys of being on The Crown is the houses and the cars. I was in his DB5 Aston Martin, and the clothes. You get to wear these beautiful suits and shirts, and I relished all that, loved it. I read most of the books about it, and my God, there's a lot of biographers, as we saw at the Queen's funeral. There seemed to be a new one every 10 minutes. Lots of interviews. I mean, that's, you know, it's the thing about him. There's so much on him, and there's so much. Every single moment of his life has been scrutinized and recorded, so there's a lot to go on. The other aspect of the research is asking absolutely everyone who might have met him, if they have, and absolutely everybody has. My wife, she's a professional garden designer. She'd met him, and we'd gone to a drinks party once, and I went as her +1. So I had met him, and I'd also been involved in the Prince's Trust, so I'd met him a couple of times doing that. He always looked slightly disappointed when I wasn't there with my wife, and he'd hand me this list of flowers or plants he wanted her to think about including. And so mainly we talk about her and plants. He's sort of in his prime, and also at probably the lowest point of his life, in that he's going through a divorce, and obviously very public, painful divorce. Because of what happened to Diana, and because of their failed marriage, he is in many people's minds the villain of the piece. And I also think in any divorce, there are 2 sides, and very much so in this divorce, there were 2 sides. And if you read the side that comes from Diana's people, he's the villain. And I think Peter's script reflected that in part, and reflected also what was coming out of Charles's side. I think in this case, you could see where both sides were coming from, and that neither and both were to blame. Having to play it, what you're conscious of, I think, maybe watching it as well, is how disgustingly prurient was the interest, and how the blame was not with these 2 lovers having a private conversation. The fact that they printed it out verbatim in certainly the Mirror, but I think all the papers, and that you could call a number and listen to the actual tape. I mean, it was staggering. And when we played the part, and we played it with the words, it just came across very much as the sort of conversation that we've all had. It made me extremely sympathetic towards the 2 of them and what they'd gone through. I thought it was disgusting the way the papers behaved. And it was like just doing a 2-hander, 1-act play with Elizabeth. And it was wonderful, because my background's theatre, and I think Elizabeth's is as well. And so we treated it like a play, really. She really nailed Diana, and I think got aspects of Diana that I hadn't necessarily noticed before, mainly her humour. And I just thought she was really, really impressive. And so I remember the first day going on set, I was extremely intimidated, not only by just being the new guy, but also standing next to her, who seemed to me to have it in the bag. But we were all nervous. Even she was, I think. But we had a great time. A lot of season 5 is him going to Eton with his son. My son was playing Prince William a bit in season 5, and he just started at Eton, and so I think that helped him a lot as well. You know, they say we're looking for a Prince William, and he's just started Eton. He's got blue eyes and blonde hair. I went, well, actually, I think I know someone who might fit the bill. I think it was the first scene they did. He's having tea with the Queen at Windsor Castle, and we're at Burley, the amazing house, with Melda Staunton, amazing actress, and my little Senny, and he sits down with the most amazing tea either of us ever seen. And he starts tucking in, and I had to rush in and say, listen, Senan, calm down, dude. You've got to do this about 30 times. You've got to take this 30 times. Stop stuffing those eclairs in your mouth. Well, the last time I worked with Imelda, I was dancing to Shame, Shame, Shame in a Welsh miners' hall in South Wales. We were in the film called Pride, where I had to do this big dance number and grab Imelda and spin her around quite a bit. So I've known her for a while and loved everything she's done. I wasn't surprised when on day one of The Crown she'd already got everything in the bag already and was totally prepared. I think there was always, with Peter and his writing, you know, a slight gravitas or a certain responsibility towards these characters. And I think if we'd been a bit more flippant about it, then what we witnessed when the Queen died would have made us feel a bit foolish. But there's nothing, I don't think, that I thought or anybody thought that we'd done in season 5 that was in any way shown to be trivial or glib or flippant after the Queen died. So it didn't change that much. I just flown to Barcelona to shoot my first day of season 6. And I arrived in the hotel and one of the ADs said to me, "God, have you heard the news?" And I said, "No." She said, "Well, the Queen's very ill." You know, the decision came through that they were suspending filming out of respect. And so I just watched the telly for 3 days and then went home. We didn't shoot anything. I am susceptible to pomp and pageantry. So I watched it very closely. And of course, it was interesting seeing Charles over those days becoming king. I mean, it was fascinating, having thought a lot about his what he must be feeling as a king in waiting, and to see this momentous event finally happening to him as a fairly old man. It was fascinating. But it's a hell of a season because it deals with Diana's death and a heavy responsibility to get it right, and something I think we all take pretty seriously.